Everyone ready? Okay. Okay. All right, so I will call to order the Board of Health meeting for Thursday, December 15th of 2022 at 5:30 PM. First on our agenda this evening, we have minutes for approval from our last meeting, which was November 2nd of 2022. Did you guys have an opportunity to review those minutes?
I did.
I did not.
Okay. We'll give you a moment just to take a peek at them.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written from November 2nd of 2022.
I'll make the motion as stated. Dave Escobar, Vice Chair.
Dina Costa, member. I second it.
Any discussion?
No.
No.
Nope, with there being none, then I will call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Carrie Singer, Chair, yes. Minutes approved. Okay, we have multiple local upgrade approvals on our agenda for this evening, so we will start with the first one, which is 265 Main Street. It's a local upgrade approval for a reduction in setback from the SAS to the property line, and an SAS to the foundation. Let's see, yeah, there's quite a few, so we'll go through them.
Oh, okay. Here, there's two of them, so.
And the system designer, Mark Farrell, is here. Mark, I'm just gonna have you come to the table so that we can get you in the mic.
Hi, Mark, how are you?
How are you?
Good, you're Mark Farrell from Green Hill Engineering? Okay, and you're here representing this plan. Looks like you have another one on the agenda as well, right?
I do.
Okay, we'll try to do them both together if that works. All right, so looks like there's multiple local upgrade approvals here, right?
Yes.
So we have a reduction in setback from the SAS to the property line from the required 10 feet down to 6 feet.
Correct.
So let's start with looking at that one first.
It's a house on Main Street. They currently have a cesspool with a secondary overflow cesspool,
Okay,
and they don't have any room in the front of the house, plus there's utilities coming in, there's water and gas coming in the front. It's, the
Okay.
layout of that Main Street is really wide. So it looks like they have a little bit of room in there, but the town or whatever owns it's a broad right-of-way. And in the back, they have an in-ground swimming pool. So the only place we really could put it was
much to do there.
They're really tight.
put it in the driveway. There's just no other place to put it,
So it's underneath the driveway?
underneath the driveway. So, and then to get the size that you need, under Title V now, you can't put in cesspools or pits, which are smaller, more compact system. You have to put in a bed or trenches, and there's just, so that's why it's big. And then its house, it's on a narrow lot, and there's, so we did the best we could in that situation.
Measurement on here for, are these both the same plans?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
No, I don't.
I don't see the, maybe I'm just not, I'm missing it here. I don't see the measurement from the SAS to the property line on the plan.
I don't have it on the plan.
Okay,
I scaled it off, it's 6 feet.
If you use this scale, you can,
okay, so
Measure
it's
it.
okay, it doesn't have to be, all right. All
I
right,
think it's supposed to be. Like,
by our regulations,
I'm not sure, I don't think it's,
our specific regulations.
What's that? I
out.
couldn't hear.
If by our specific regulations, you need to show, like, on the plan view, show the distance between the property line. But there's a couple other revisions that, might
So
need to be
maybe we
done, so
can
that's
add
something
those.
that can be added.
I can add
Okay.
them to it, that's not a problem.
okay, that's fine. I mean, I can see how close it is, so,
Yeah.
I mean, all right, the other,
It's much better for us to review if we have.
What's that?
It's much better for us to review if we have the actual
Sure.
dimension.
Yep.
Marked on the plan.
all right, and then the SAS to the foundation from 20 down to 11, and that's the foundation of the house?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm guessing that's here.
Yeah, that looks like the shortest distance from there to there. Proposed septic slab to slab foundation, 10 feet required, so septic tank to slab foundation, 10
That would be the
feet down to
garage.
6. Okay, so that's there, to the corner of the garage there. Okay, so we'll go
So that's
from
from
there
the
to
distribution box.
there. The septic tank,
The tank, the septic tank,
the tank
to
itself,
the garage.
to the garage, so it's gonna be here to here. And then soil absorption more than 3 feet from finished grade, event proposed for mitigation.
And that's one we had recently, that's just so you can have the gravity system. So Title V prefers it to be, less than 3 feet from finished grade. I think this is not much deeper than 3,
But we're
but
gonna
might be a
vent
little
it to
bit more.
mitigate that
Right.
increase in depth. Plus, we're gonna
Which is
vent
all
it because it's
permitted.
underneath the driveway.
Right, which would require a
Right,
vent
which,
regardless.
yeah, okay.
Is there reinforcement over the field under the driveway?
Excuse me?
Is there reinforcement under the driveway to protect the field?
No, but the tanks are heavy-duty tanks, so you can drive, the tanks are rated at H20.
So this is a tank that's longer? The leach field isn't protected under?
Well, Leachfield's Schedule 40, so that's what's required if you put it underneath, and it'll have sufficient cover, so the bleach field will be protected
Okay.
via the Schedule 40 pipe, and also the deeper they are, the more protected they're gonna be. So we have 3 feet of cover and Schedule 40 pipe.
Okay.
And it's gonna be bedded in stone, so it's, you couldn't put something like plastic chambers or a Presby underneath the driveway. You could, but it would be far less strong than to do pipe and stone with Schedule 40 pipe.
Okay.
Right. Dina, do you have any questions?
No, I'm just looking at the layout and it's,
Yeah, it's pretty.
there's
Yeah.
nowhere else really to go. So it's property line, slab foundation, which is the
Tank to
garage.
Nope, so it's 2, so SAS to foundation on the house,
On the
and
house,
then
okay.
tank to garage
Garage.
foundation,
And then the
greater than.
grade.
Yep.
Okay. And is there a well on the
Town water.
property?
It's town water, yeah, so it comes in the front, that's actually marked there,
Oh, yeah, town water service.
yeah. And then I see the gas line, that's a gas line there too. Yeah.
Good thing it's got town water.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just to add another couple of,
I know, I could see where that could be
Yeah.
a problem. Okay, all right, any other questions? All right. So I will entertain a motion, to approve, 1, 2, 3, 4 local upgrade approvals, for 265 Main Street, with plans drawn up by Green Hill Engineering, designed by Mark Farrell, received on November 15th of 2022. With the first local upgrade being a reduction in the setback from the SAS to the property line from the required 10 feet down to 6 feet. A reduction from the SAS to the foundation of the house from 20 feet required down to 11 feet proposed. A reduction from the septic tank to the slab foundation of the garage from the required 10 feet down to 6 feet. And the soil absorption being more than 3 feet from finished grade with a vent proposed for mitigation. This will be contingent upon minor revisions of the plan to show the measurements of all of these local upgrades for the foundation and the slab and the property line.
I'll make the motion as stated.
Dina Costa, member, I second it.
Any additional discussion?
No.
Nope, with there being none then, call for the vote.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, yes.
Dina Costa, member, yes.
Carrie Singer, Chair, yes. Approved. All right, so 265 is approved. I'm gonna just jump down, since we have Mark still here, if that's okay. We're gonna jump to 12 Dolge Court. This is a request to use a sieve analysis instead of a perk test.
And you have the plans. I believe that I had gotten your approval, Madam Chair, prior, because they were closing, so this needed to be done quickly. And it is fairly standard. Title V does allow
Yep.
a sieve analysis instead of a perk for an upgrade when a perk cannot be done.
Correct.
So the system has already been installed.
Yep. Alright, and I think I see, is it just written there for the use of the sieve analysis?
Due to high groundwater, a percolation test was not performed. The loading rate was determined by particle size analysis performed in accordance with the DEP alternative to percolation testing guidance document.
Sounds good. Did you wanna see the plan?
I heard him read it, that's okay. Thank you.
There's nothing on here that says anything about the high groundwater, right? Or just the grading would be the high groundwater?
Well, so, because we couldn't perk because the ground was too saturated, so you still have that proper offset to groundwater that you need.
Yep.
But we couldn't conduct the perk because it was
Because of
too
that.
wet.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just too wet to perk. So they allow you to do this as an alternative for repairs.
Right.
So if it's not, as long as it's not new construction, you can do it. In the old days, you had to wait until it
Till it
dry out, and
dried,
it
yeah.
might not be till spring.
Right.
Or dig and de-water the spot, you know, put pumps in and lower the water table, which is, so this just allows when there's, you know, a repair situation to, you know, come up with a loading rate without having to wait for it to be too dry.
Right. Was this a failure or just a?
Failure, yeah.
Okay, so the
Uh,
system
fa-
wasn't
fa- It was
good.
just, it was an upgrade. They were selling their house, it was Title V, they did an inspection, it didn't pass.
Okay. All right.
So it wasn't like it was coming on top of the ground,
Right,
or
right.
it was oozing out or backing up into the house. It was
Okay.
just, they didn't pass Title V,
Okay.
which is not unusual. I mean, the house was probably maybe 25 or 30 years, so it was the original system.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't last forever.
Yep. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
No.
So I will entertain a motion to approve a local upgrade approval, for 12 Dolge Court with plans drawn up by Green Hill Engineering, designed by Mark Farrell, received on November 1st, 2022, for the use of a sieve analysis instead of a perk test.
Make the motion as stated.
Dina Costa, member, I second it.
Any additional discussion?
No.
Nope, with there being none then, I'll call for the vote.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, yes.
Dina Costa, member, yes.
Carrie Singer, Chair, yes, approved. Okay, I think
Great.
that was all we had for you on the agenda, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Happy
Have a good
holidays
evening.
to you.
Thank you, you too, thank you.
All right.
All yours.
All right, next on our agenda, we have, 34 Mount Pleasant Street.
That might be mixed in with that file.
I'm looking. This is all Dolge.
Hello,
Good evening.
how are you?
Good, and you?
Good, thank you. Are you the designer?
Yes, I am.
So Margaret?
Correct.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
And you're from Civil Site Engineering?
Correct.
So this looks like a variance request to allow for a single compartment tank instead of the required 2 compartment tank?
Correct.
So I'll just give a little bit of background before I turn it over. So this is considered new construction because it was being, and a bedroom was being added for an in-law addition. So the plan was reviewed, it was approved, and during the install inspection, it was noted that the existing tank that was on the plan to remain was a single compartment, which per Title V is allowed as long as you get a tank certificate, right, inspect the tank, make sure it's still in good condition. However, Oxford regulations require that all new construction uses a 2-compartment tank. So the error was both in our review and then the fact that our regulations, right, weren't included in it. So we decided that we'd come, make it official, see if the board would be willing to allow the single compartment tank to remain, which is allowed per Title V. It's just not allowed per our regulations to ask for a variance from our local regulations to allow the single compartment tank to stay. That has been certified, it's still in good condition.
So it's been inspected already?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it would be, at this point, also difficult, I mean, it's possible, but the system's already been put in, closed up, right, so would be an additional cost now to go
Right.
back in, remove it, and put in the new tank.
So why is this considered a new construction?
Because a bedroom was being added,
So because it was being added, that's the reason why
Yep.
it's considered new construction?
Well,
an increase in design flow.
And because, to do an upgrade, the inspector at the time, Steve Donatelli, required us to inspect the system before we could upgrade it. And during the inspection, the system was in failure.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of both.
Kind of a twofer there.
So,
Okay, I get it. So it was in failure, but it was also considered new construction, so it just
correct.
kind of was, all right.
So, was the tank replaced? You said it was
No,
in failure.
No, the leach field was in failure.
Okay.
So when they do the inspection, they open up the D-box, and the D-box was full. So it really wasn't draining.
Okay. So
The
the leach
tank
field
was
has
in-
been replaced?
Yes, the whole leach field's been replaced. And the tank's inspected, and then they replaced the T's in the tank, and then we put filters on the tank too for additional protection.
Okay.
So we're kind of after the fact requesting a variance.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that.
No problem.
And do we have a letter or something that certifies that the tank is in good working order?
We normally, before we sign the certificate of compliance, I normally require a licensed system installer to provide a letter. To be honest, I don't know if we've received that yet, I'd have to double check, but it is something that we ask for.
And I put that right on the plan, because I mentioned that to the contractor, who did a nice job, that they were gonna need that. I do have a note in there, tanks to be pumped and inspected, and I mentioned talking to the contractor when I was out there doing one of my inspections with him, if that had been done, and he said yes. They were pumped and inspected, and no leakage and no cracks, and T's replaced.
All right, any questions? No? All right, so I will entertain a motion to approve a local variance request for 34 Mount Pleasant Street for plans drawn up by Civil Site Engineering, designed by Margaret Bacon, received on August 24th of 2022, for the continued use of a single compartment tank instead of the required 2-compartment tank, and of course that will be ultimately requiring some sort of certification or letter stating that the tank is in good working order.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, I make a motion as stated.
Dina Costa, member, I second it.
Any additional discussion?
No.
Nope. With there being none, then I will call for the vote.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, yes.
Dina Costa, member, yes.
Carrie Singer, Chair, yes, approved.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy holidays to both of you.
As well.
All right, let's see, we've already done Dolge Court. Next on our agenda is 47 Depot Road. This is a request to use a sieve analysis versus a perk test, and this is plans by DC Engineering. Lots of sieve analysis.
Yes, so the next two are both by Jason Dubois, and it's the same one as, same situation as before. Madam Chair, you gave your written approval for this prior because they were in a hurry for closing. And again, for 47 Depot, there was too much fill, and so it would have been a very deep perk, and so then it becomes a safety issue because you're so deep in the hole
Yeah.
that you just want to perk
Yeah.
out of safety concerns. Again, it's an upgrade. The system would have been in failure, and so it is allowed to do a sieve instead of a perk.
And both of these were for selling of property? and They
Correct.
were trying to close on the houses? Okay. And they were both in failure, they found when they did
Yes.
the inspections? Okay, just making sure, verifying our,
And some of them, and I have to go back and check our records. Like when I say in failure, some of them don't do official Title Vs because they just know the system is
Okay.
going to be in failure. So they don't want to pay to have a Title V done when they're going to pay. They know they're going to have to pay to upgrade the system anyway.
okay. All right. We'll start with 47 Depot Road. Do you guys have any questions?
No.
These are pretty simple, like,
Yeah.
it was a fairly simple approval, so. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve a local upgrade for 47 Depot Road with plans drawn by DC Engineering, designed by Jason Dubois, for a request to use a sieve analysis instead of a perk test. The plans were received on November 20th of 2022.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair. I make the motion as stated.
Dina Costa, member, I second it.
Any additional discussion?
No.
Nope, with there being none, then I will call for the vote.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, yes.
Dina Costa, member, yes.
Carrie Singer, Chair, yes, approved for 47 Depot Road. The last one on our list here is 19 Old Dudley Road, same thing, request to use a sieve analysis instead of a perk test, and these are plans drawn up again by Jason Dubois and DC Engineering. Do you guys have any additional questions for Rika with regards to 19 Old Dudley Road?
Was this one water or
Yes.
fill
Yep.
or water?
That one
Okay.
That was actually Phil as well.
That was
Now
Phil
that I think
as
about it,
well.
That was Phil as well.
Okay. Great.
I don't have any questions.
I know, it's like, you don't even look at the plans for those, 'cause there's not much to look at, it's
Yeah.
for, so I will entertain a motion to approve, a local upgrade for 19 Old Dudley Road with plans drawn up by DC Engineering, designed by Jason Dubois, received on November 21st of 2022, for the use of a sieve analysis instead of a perk test.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair. I make the motion as stated.
Dina Costa, member, I second it.
Any additional discussion?
No.
No.
With there being none, then call for the vote.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, yes.
Dina Costa, member, yes.
Carrie Singer, Chair, yes. Approved for 19 Old Dudley Road. All right, so those are all of our local upgrades and variance requests. We'll move on to agent appointments. So this is to appoint our Regional Health Inspector Douglas Mercurio as an agent of the board. So
Yes. So you've met him at our previous board meeting. So it was recommended by another community that in our region that uses him as an inspector as well, that it'd probably be good practice to have him officially voted in as an agent of the board. Legally, like he still, in all means, can do the Board of Health work, but it's always good practice. So all of us communities are now putting this on our agenda to officially vote him as an agent of the Board of Health.
okay, and what did he do in particular? He was the one that did
So inspections. So he's being trained on
all the inspections. That's what I thought. I
His
wanted.
background is he came from Worcester and did housing inspections in Worcester. So that's his background. But he's doing food for us now, as well as some housing, but mainly food, and then sometimes perk tests as needed to witness those. As long as the soil evaluator isn't needed, and we're working on training, like signing him up to take he's a system inspector. He passed that course. He'll once the soil evaluator class opens up, he'll do that. He has his food protection manager certificate, so like his Serve Safe. And then he'll do pools and camps. Like he's gone out with us
Okay.
on a couple of those. So pretty much the idea is for him to be able to do a
Okay.
little bit of everything.
And so how will that change? So making him an agent, how will that change anything that he's currently doing?
It won't, it just formalizes it more,
Okay,
adds a little more formality to it.
okay. And then, so he will still, like what he was doing before, he'll issue, if there are, issues during any of the inspections, he'll issue that.
Yep.
Did he issue any, like, fines or anything like that prior
No,
to?
he hasn't done it. He's mainly been doing inspections for us. He
Okay.
hasn't done, the only enforcement he would do currently is reinspection on a food establishment, right? If you found violations from the first inspection, do a reinspection.
Okay.
But other than that, he hasn't done any other major enforcement.
Okay. I think as long as, like, you know, we've always stated, as long as if there are issues that are found, that they're communicated to the board.
Yep.
You know, just to make sure that they're not kind of working solo and doing their own little thing in their own little bubble. I think that's the most important thing is communication.
And he's pretty good after, like, tomorrow he'll be in town, I think, doing a couple food inspections. He's usually good at calling me after and just
Okay.
reviewing them with me, and we get a copy of the inspection reports. He pops into the office the days he's in town, so
Okay.
there's good communication there. That I don't see that as an issue.
All right. Just making sure, because I know we've had some agents in the past that just, you know, where they don't communicate. And I think that's just the most important thing as a board is, you know, we want to make sure that things are done right and that if there are major issues, that they're brought forward to us, so.
Yep. No, definitely.
Okay.
And that's like, anything he does goes through me first, like and then we follow up on what the outcome is.
Perfect.
And then
then
I
you
can update
communicate
you
to us
as-
as
yep.
appropriate.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions, comments with regards to this for Rika?
No, I
No.
think this is great.
Yeah, I think so too. And he's
It's
been a
really
big help.
Oh, yeah, it's been
Yeah.
great, yeah,
Good.
yeah. So he's been taking on a number of food inspections, which has been really nice,
Good.
so, yeah.
And he has email, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Phone.
That's
Uses
all.
technology.
Yeah.
We're moving up in the ages, so it's great. Okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion to appoint our Douglas Mercurio, the Regional Health Inspector, as an agent of the Oxford Board of Health.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, I make the motion as stated.
Dina Costa, member, I second it.
Any additional discussion?
No.
Nope, with there being none then, I will call for the vote.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, yes.
Dina Costa, member, yes.
Carrie Singer, Chair, yes, and he is now our agent of the board. Do we have something to
Thank
sign
you.
for that? No? Okay,
Nope.
just making sure, I wasn't sure if we
Yep.
did. All right, so next on our agenda, we have a review of the biological safety regulations. So, maybe, Rika, if you could just give us an update on if anything has changed from our last meeting to this meeting.
Yes, so actually, quite a bit, and then maybe not that much.
Quite a bit, but not that much, I love it.
So, there's a consultant who works in some other in some North Shore communities like Bedford, Ipswich, one other, Arlington, I think. And I'd reached out to her to see if she had any contacts for reviewing these regulations, coming to the board and giving feedback. And she felt that we would be hard pressed to find someone that would give their time free of charge.
Yeah.
She did briefly look over them, and she felt that they were pretty standard with what other communities are doing. I had said, what about us doing outreach to some businesses that are currently doing this type of work, and she felt that that wouldn't necessarily be appropriate either, since these regulations are meant to regulate them. I don't know if I totally agree with that. I understand what she's saying, but I always find it's important to get the business
Always
input.
good to get feedback from the people who are affected.
I also have been in communication, so for Natick reached out to a bunch of communities to see if anybody had biosafety regulations, because they were looking to implement that, because they have one company looking to come in to do this work, some biotech, and so they recently had a hearing on their regulations, and he provided me with a draft version of Natick's. And I really liked what Natick put together. I thought they put in some good points and summarized things nicely. So a lot of it actually was similar to our regulations. I think that there's a base. I think he pulled from Burlington as well, like I did for these. So you can see the items in green is what I added, and most of that is came from what Natix had. The ones in yellow were what I had, changed the previous, time, and then the items that I deleted, I just removed those to kind of clean it up and make it a little bit neater and flow a little bit better. So I'm open to any feedback. I know we're pressed for time tonight because there's another meeting following ours. So, I just noticed a spot that I didn't delete this process. So I'll make a note right there. But we can always move this to January if we'd like. And some of the green is also based on comments that you had provided, like the meeting no less than once a year or whenever changes to the approved plan occur. That was also based on our conversation.
We get any feedback on approved?
Yes, so, and that's on page 5, and so you'll see in line with best practices for BSL 3 containment and approved by the IBC. So I'd asked her about that, and it was more that the IBC has approved them. And I put in the best practices, which would come from the NIH and the BMBL.
Now, on page 4, it mentions designating a biosafety officer. I like that piece of it, so that will be on the ownership of the facility,
Yep.
correct? And is that something that most of these facilities are?
So that was when I had talked to Bedford and Burlington about their regulations and getting a little bit more information. Most of them had mentioned that a lot of these companies have a designated biosafety officer, and they're usually the ones represented on the IBC.
Okay.
And on page 8, for instance, one thing that Natick had that I thought was kind of, I don't foresee it coming our way, but just regarding animals, already having something in our regulations that touches upon any research that would involve warm-blooded animals.
So this would say that we won't allow it, is that correct?
That it'll be restricted, yeah.
Okay.
So it gives us a little bit more
Yep.
flexibility of whether to allow it or not, based on what it is.
On page 3, the definition of Institutional Biosafety Committee, IBC. It says that the IBC shall be the final arbiter within an institution with regard to the implementation of this regulation, with oversight by the Board of Health as described herein. When you say they're the final arbiter within an institution with regard to the implementation of this regulation.
So
what
the
is that?
IBC is the board that's so each institution will create a
Right,
board, right,
that's-
and the Board of
The
Health.
company's board, right, that's,
Well, it's gonna have representation from the town and the Board of Health as well, but they're the ones that are gonna, so they'll review them and they'll approve it, but the Board of Health will then also be the ones to issue the permit, right? But we would rely on the IBC to come forward with their approval, their recommendations. But the IBC is made up of,
the word arbiter, they can change the regulations or they decide
within,
not to
within,
accept sections of it as they see fit.
well, I view it more as with regard to the implementation, so they oversee the implementation of this. I mean, I can definitely change out that word.
No, yeah, I'm misinterpreting when I think of arbitration, I think of deciding or interpreting the rules, which I guess is what the IPC is there for, really, so,
To review everything.
okay.
But again, the Board of Health oversees that and does have representation on the IPC. And would still issue the permit.
Yeah, because not everything in here is cut and dry, right? Like, some of this could be restricted depending on exactly what it is the
And all regulations
company
are
is
subject
doing.
to,
So I think that gives us a little bit of
interpretation.
leeway. What?
all regulations are subject to interpretation.
Well, and I think most of the biosafety stuff, really comes from the standards outside of what we have set in our town, right? So, that's really what they're going to utilize through, will be through there. We're just kind of, NIH and those guidelines, that's what they're gonna follow. Kind of like when we have our Title V regs, right? They follow the state, we have regulations that then we can tweak back and forth that are specific to us. So I think, that's really what we're looking at, are those things that are kind of specific to us and what we wanna see and not see outside of what NIH, allows. It's kind of it's a way to think about it, right? It's like, all right, it's not anything and everything, biological safety, because that's all gonna come from NIH and stuff, so. I think we're spelling out what we're going to allow, what we're not going to allow, how we're gonna handle it, the finding process, and things like that. So I think we're definitely heading in the right direction with this, which is good. So my thought process is, since there's a lot to review and there's a lot in green, like I started reading and then I flipped, I went, whoa, that's a lot more green on page 6 and 7, is why don't we take the opportunity, since our next meeting is a few short weeks away anyway, and we'll have more time to really be able to sit down and hash it out. If we take the next few weeks and review the changes made in green in the entire regulations, as they're written, and be prepared to have a much deeper discussion in January to hopefully try to kind of finalize where we're at with them. Does that sound like a good plan?
I agree.
And then hopefully, if we're looking good in January, we might be able to push through for possible vote for approval in February. Does that sound like a good timeline?
Yeah.
Yeah? Rika,
Yeah.
sound good?
Works for me.
She's like, whoa, wait a minute.
But in as you review them, let me know before the January meeting. Like, I can make additional edits if you feel like it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll, especially with ones like this, I'll sit down and read it with a pen, and then I'll write. It's sometimes easier rather than staring at a computer
Yep.
screen. There are certain things I'll read that way, but, obviously, if anybody is willing to read it that way and you want to send it to Rika, that's fine. Other than that, we will plan to do a more extensive review in January, so we'll add a little bit more time on for that on the agenda.
Sounds good.
Does that work for you guys?
Yeah.
Yep. There was a lot in the the permit application requirements.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking of like our new system being online, keeping that in mind for how we would, I guess it would all just be uploaded, right?
I would think so, yeah, making sure that it's vague enough so that it reflects that.
Yep. All right, good plan.
Yeah, I think it sounds good. All right, so that is our biological safety regs. I'll put that over here. I think I threw out my old version so that I have the current version. Let me just make a note. Okay, next on our agenda, we're discussing potential fees for paper applications. So I'll turn this
Yes.
over to you, Rika.
So once we move to the upgrade of our permitting system, I'm hoping it's gonna be a lot smoother and easier. Right now, we're having a fair amount of glitches. And the hope is to be all paper. So speaking to some other all online and no more paper. And speaking to some other communities, what they have implemented is a fee for if you give us a paper application, because then we have to input it. So it takes our time. So to discourage that, implementing a small fee that, in addition to the permit fee, if you submit a paper application, there will be an additional fee for us to input it in. So I'm looking to see if that's something that the board is interested in implementing once we have this updated system in place.
What's the timeline for the?
I'm hoping, so we're hoping to be live fairly quickly. Part of it is just getting all the data where it needs to be, and then making sure that we can take payments online. That's like the biggest hurdle. So I'm looking like February, March is my goal. So definitely by food permit renewals, that it'll all be online.
Okay. Great. And you said other towns have been doing things like this as well?
Yeah, so Webster does that. I spoke with them about it. I know that the building commissioner is looking to do the same here as well, for all of his.
Do you have a thought on a potential fee?
I was thinking like $25. I wasn't gonna, I mean, I'm open to more, I'm open to doing a little bit less. I want it to be something where it's like, not just when you pay on, and I want to say this is not, you don't have to pay online, right? We'll still accept checks because there is going to be a processing fee when you pay online. There still is currently. So I understand that some people might prefer to pay with cash or check, and that's totally fine. We'll accept that, but the application should be submitted, the paper should be submitted online. And so I want it to be something that will encourage them, right? They might think $25, like, do I really want to pay the $25 when I can do it online? But some people might choose to still pay that $25 because they just really don't want to deal with technology that much.
Okay. Do we have an estimated amount of time that it would take to input everything from a paper
It depends.
application into the system?
It depends on the application, right? Because some are going to be lengthier than others. Like food, that's going to take longer. Perk test, it's going to be quicker. Currently, Shane does most of it, so he can probably speak to how long it's taking him now. But again, it would depend on the type of application.
Quickest one takes like 5 minutes.
The quickest one. Your longest one takes about how long, do you think?
The food one could take upwards of 20.
Okay. So we're looking at anywhere from 5 to say 30 minutes
And that's if they have all.
if they have everything.
required documents.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of, why would a business or an applicant not use the
Online system.
online system? And so is it that maybe they can't like scan the documents, that they only have paper copies of? So like, do we provide them with any recommendations on like how, okay, you have this piece of paper, you don't have it in a digital form, how do you, whether it's through a phone or a computer, how do you scan it so that you can have a digital copy? Like I know Adobe has like a scanning
Phone
app
people
or.
just take a picture with their phone and email it to us.
Okay.
I honestly think the biggest, my experience is people that just aren't tech savvy. They
Okay.
don't do,
Yeah.
they either don't even have a smartphone, they do minimal work on the internet. They rarely check their email, and you have a couple of those, like, I know we have a couple septic installers that are just, they're like, we don't do the internet. There's always some mom and pop businesses that, they're more old school, really don't deal with computers.
So even if you give them the resource or the how-to, it's not gonna change the fact that they're still submitting it in paper form.
And Shane has created like great step-by-step screenshot instructions of what to do, and you'll still have the people just come in with the paper because they just don't want to deal with it.
All right.
For those that don't have, say, a computer, because there are still people out there who don't, do we have a computer available for them to come in and do that, like outside the office, in the event that they don't want to pay the fee, but it's because they just don't have a computer to input it? I'm just trying to think of ways that,
Is there, are the computers available at the library?
yeah. So I think having,
Scanner available at the library?
I actually
Gotta
don't
do
know
it.
this library. I know that libraries that I've been members of before, they do, but I can check this library.
okay. I mean, I'm not opposed to it at all. I think that if we're gonna do it, at least provide some sort of, even a location of where there's a computer available in case they're like, I can't pay the $25 or $20 or $30 that, whatever it is that we decide on, to say, at least have directions to say you can go to the library, we'll have a computer set up for you here for you to input your information, just to at least give resources.
Yes, please to do it.
Just to try to help some people out, because some people are like,
Yeah,
well,
You hate to burden, like,
I know.
older people or people who, for some reason, don't wanna use the technology, without giving them an opportunity. I would think if we could, I'm sure your instructions, Jane, are probably posted online.
Yeah.
I actually don't think they are, but we
No?
could do that.
As
Just
part
wondering
of like,
if we could somehow maybe have somebody
Use the internet.
at the,
I know.
somebody at the library who could walk somebody through the process or could guide them to the instructions just to get them started or something. I mean, the best of all possible worlds would be to have it, when you open up the permit, there's a button that says, do you want instructions? Press here, then you get the instructions.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we can build that into the, I mean, we could definitely put it on our website. And we have a link, like applications here, so we could just put a link underneath it, instructions to how to complete it here, right underneath it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want, and I don't think any of you want this either, is to make the fee, but then like not give as many like
Right.
roads to getting it online as we can.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, if it's because they don't have a computer, so come on in, you don't want to pay the fee, that's fine. We'll have a computer set up or a laptop set up outside the office for you to be able to do that. I think the other thing, Shane, you mentioned that oftentimes they're emailing you other documents, and then you're uploading them in, is that correct? Can you give us an example of that? Because I'm a little concerned about the time it's taking for you to do that as well, and trying to push people to be able to do that.
With the current system that we're using, there are a lot of glitches where people just can't upload stuff sometimes.
Okay.
And I'll say, just email it to me and I'll upload it on your behalf.
Okay.
And a lot of times what's missing is like the certificate of insurance, the workman's comp document. So a lot of times, and sometimes insurance companies will email that to us directly.
Okay.
And so what we're moving to, the hope is that, like right now, once you submit an application, I don't think you can go back and attach, but
That's the biggest problem.
and the upgrade will hopefully that you'll be able to do that. You can, once you've submitted it, you can't actually make changes within the application, we'll have to do that on our end, like if it's 15 seats instead of 10 seats, something like that. But attachments, they can always go back and add attachments.
And do we give them resources in terms of to be able, if they do have a smartphone, like resources for them to be able to scan documents themselves?
Like apps. So, we don't have that, but as Shane mentioned, pictures work just as well. Like you can upload a picture just as well as you can upload a PDF, and we'll save the picture as what it is, right? Your ServSafe certificate or your certificate of insurance. Like to me, it doesn't matter whether it's a picture or PDF as long as we have that done.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, my thing is I'm thinking of like when you have multiple copies of something, like, so maybe it's a 5-page document that you're uploading. When you're getting like 5 separate pictures, that can be cumbersome versus utilizing an app where you can batch scan and save it as a PDF. And do that. I mean, I use a really nice app that's free. That makes it so easy to do that. I do it for all my student stuff, and it's like, I can batch them. So giving those types of resources, I think, might be super helpful too, to try to help Shane from getting a million emails and JPEGs and PNGs, and now he's got to like upload, 7 pages of a document or 7 JPEGs for ServSafe for everyone that has ServSafe. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think just trying to think about those things. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm wondering though, just to give us as the board a little bit more time to think about it, can we just add this to our January meeting?
Yeah, and if you'd rather, we can also wait till we're live. Give it a
I'd
few
like to
months.
see see
what
the
the
system.
numbers are.
Yeah.
Because my hope is through encouragement, and now that it's going to be easier, like I believe right now, can you access the application on your phone? You cannot, right? You need to do the application on a
current
computer,
system?
yeah.
No, it's only.
It has to be a computer.
The current system is only on,
But
yeah.
going forward, it'll be,
It will be, so you can access
On
it
your
first. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we have to wait until
I think
it's
we need to
live
see
and
the
they're-
system.
everything's smoothed out, and I mean, because if there are glitches and then people get frustrated and bring it in on paper, I hate to charge a fee.
I
for
also
that
want to,
too.
like, I feel like we are compassionate, like empathetic, like I'm not, we understand life events, right? Like I just want it there for that person who's constantly like, here you go, here's the paper, here's the paper application, and no matter how many times we like solve their problem, help them through it,
come
give
in
them
with
all the
messy stack of
resources,
papers and
it's
say,
just
"There you go,
easier to give
you
us the
figure it
paper
out."
and have
You wanna
us deal with
discourage
it.
that,
Right,
yeah.
and that's what we're trying to push away from.
There's like one business that completely refuses to do online stuff and they don't really have a reason.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
This is like
what
an
we're,
encouragement.
okay.
makes sense.
All right. So, do you have a testing site for the new system so far?
Not yet, but I can.
Shane says yes. He's
If
nodding his
I,
head.
well, I was gonna say, it's not anything where you can put in yet tests to like put in documents or anything. But I can get you guys I can have emails sent to you so you can create logins so you can go in and see the site and play around.
That
with
might
it.
be helpful for us so that we can kind of see.
Yep.
I think that would be, are you guys okay with that?
Yeah,
I'll send you an email. I'll do that tomorrow, and I'll send you an email. So you keep an eye out for it too, in
Okay.
case it goes to junk or you're like,
Oh,
"What's
yeah,
this?"
yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
it's coming
okay.
from.
And yeah, because I think, like Gina said, I think it's definitely will be helpful for us to actually see the system and I think once we go live with it, we can revisit and, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I just want to make sure that we've seen the system, we've utilized the system as an end user, and yeah, and then I think we can kind of, and then come up with some resources on, or really think about resources on where they can go to complete them electronically. I think that's something that can be worked on ahead of time of go live. Here's a few apps that you can download on your phone to make it easier to upload all of the stuff. So I think if we brainstorm, we can work on that as well. Does that work?
That sounds
Okay.
great.
All right, awesome, thank you. All right, so before we have permit reviews, last on our agenda is director report out.
I'll keep this nice and quick. So, COVID numbers are holding fairly steady. I did get multiple reports from DPH and OPM that hospital numbers are on the rise and numbers seem to be on the uptick, but they associate that due to Thanksgiving. Also, we're seeing flu on the increase. RSV is still a concern, but it seems to have peaked. But we'll see, especially now that everyone's gathering around the holidays. So people still we still want to encourage people to mask if they're not feeling well. If they're gathering a lot of people, masks are still beneficial to prevent the spread of COVID, flu, other illnesses, making sure washing hands is so critical. So just encouraging that. We have distributed pretty much all of the COVID test kits that we had that expired in January. We did take some from another department that expired sooner, and you'll see them. I don't know if you came.
It's
in,
our
but
downstairs,
you saw
yeah.
them, and they've been walking away. So I've been very happy
good
with that.
thing.
We've been getting them into residents' hands. However, I did get an email from the state this week. They wanted to give us even more test kits. So I'm accepting about 2,700 more. So about a little over 1,000 kits themselves. And those will be good till June. So I'll be distributing those to the food pantry again. I already spoke with the senior center. She'll be interested in those. We'll distribute them around town to make sure that residents get those.
Okay, I have a couple questions. I don't mean to
Yes.
interrupt, just
No.
while I'm thinking of it. So, can we just go to flu and RSV? Are we getting reports on specific numbers for Oxford or just statewide flu and RSV?
So flu, it gets reported into Maven. To be honest, I haven't checked flu numbers. I know I sent you the flu report or the Maven report for November, and we had under 15, I believe, with both definite and probable, confirmed and probable flu cases. I know Amy has said she's definitely seeing it in the schools.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the numbers. And Brianna, I think it was Brianna had put together like a map of kind of flu cases around town, because she's saying that Oxford's not that bad compared to the other communities she's seen. She's definitely seen an uptick as well. So she created kind of a map of like where within town we're seeing cases.
Okay.
More general, not like house specific, but
Yeah.
like
Okay.
area.
I've definitely seen an increase in flus and RSVs in the hospital versus COVID, actually. So that's why I was curious in terms of if we had specific numbers from town.
No, but I can pull the Maven numbers tomorrow.
Okay.
And see what we've had since November.
Okay. And then in terms of the kits, how have you seen, because like we've talked about the kits at every meeting so far, and now all of a sudden like most of them are gone. Where did you see you got rid of most of them,
So-
or have people come and asked for them, or?
We've had a couple of people come and ask because Amy put a notice out in the electronic backpack.
Okay.
So we had a couple people that way. But after our meetings, I distributed, I think I brought 1 or 2 to the food pantry. And then I had reached out to the housing authority, and they wanted 1 for each of their residents. So I got rid of like 2 or 3 boxes that way.
Okay.
On Wheelock Street. And then I'm trying to think who else I distributed, but that got rid of like the
A lot
several
of them.
boxes I had
Okay.
left. It got rid of them fairly quickly.
Okay.
Good.
And then people coming in.
And I was so happy to see that email. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, the kids.
Yeah.
So and we
Well,
had
you
people
would
call
get
and
them.
ask
I don't
about
get them any, like the electronic backpack.
Oh, yeah.
So you
But
would
no,
get-
Rika's email when she was like, the kids are gone. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
But I felt like our office, like we got this cleared space, and then I got that email from the state.
You're like,
It's gonna be
oh,
all
I got more coming.
But it's been good because I've been happy that now that I've been putting some downstairs.
Yeah.
And seeing them being taken
Oh,
is
I
really, really good.
I think if they're there, they're gonna take them rather than come and ask. So I think that's a good move. I actually thought about grabbing one on my way out too,
Yeah.
because I'm
to
running
have
out.
it.
Yeah, just to have it, so.
There was a nice piece in the TNG from the Worcester Board of Health. I don't know if you saw it. And it was just on, well, it caught my eye because it was about hospital numbers and being overwhelmed with the viruses. And they, at the end, gave some guidance to Worcester residents. And it was everything Rika just said, you know, masking indoors, washing your hands, that sort of thing. Don't, wear a mask if you're sick. But, I mean, we should put something together.
Yeah.
So I know that on a call today, again, we have our different regions now, right? And we have our regional EPI, and the Blackstone region EPI put together something that she was going to share with Brianna. So I can
Okay.
see if we were able to get that, and then I can work on
Yeah.
Yeah.
putting it on social media, or where
Absolutely.
else would you like to see it?
I mean, even if you just do like a one-pager on social media, not necessarily a link, but just a graphic.
Yep.
The website,
Can that be put in the electronic backpack?
Oh, yeah.
Since you got a really good like response from that, that might not be a bad idea.
if it's in the schools,
Yeah.
that's maybe a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, sometimes, I feel like the public looks at what we say maybe a little bit differently. So if somebody was questioning whether they should send their kid to school with a mask or not, and they just, the Board of Health wrote this, maybe that just feels better to them.
Yeah.
I don't know how people think,
You don't know what people think,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I'll put that on.
Communication, the better.
Absolutely. They can either take it or not take it, and, yep. All right, great. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, so.
No, that's fine. So I'll work on seeing what that EPI put together, and I'll send it out to you guys to look at.
Okay.
And then,
Thank you.
so that was honestly the biggest of my.
Okay.
And then I just talking about our regional staff still around, still doing great things. Doug's helping a lot with inspections. Eileen, who's our regional community health coordinator, she's been a huge help with certain housing cases, being a resource, right? Looking into fuel assistance, looking to help them like accomplish different goals, like making sure things are getting done. So it's really helpful because I don't always have the time to visit with someone on a weekly basis to see how progress is being done. So to have her as a resource has been really, really helpful. We talked about the permitting system, so I already provided that update. Last time I talked about Green Tea Massage. I don't know if I mentioned that they did have, and the new owners went in front of the state for a hearing, and the state actually chose not to grant the new owners a license based on the materials that we provided them.
Okay,
So at this time, there's no new owners for that location, so we'll kind of see what the
okay.
next steps are. And then the only other thing I was just going to remind everyone, we'll be starting to meet the second Wednesday of the month, starting in January. So the next meeting is going to be January 11th, 6 p.m., and it'll still be in the library. So January 11th, February 8th, and March 8th.
Second Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Six PM.
Library.
So January 11th. February 8th?
Correct, and March 8th.
Okay, good. I just changed, I didn't want to change it too soon, because then I would have, I just had to change my reoccurring on my calendar. All right. Perfect. Sounds good. Anything else?
Nope, that is everything on my end.
Okay, wonderful. All right, Shane, you have multiple permits for us to review?
Oh, you'll see tanning in there, I should say.
Oh, yes, one tanning place, right?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. We're gonna start down here and move them all the way. Dina, you're so smart.
I'll sign on the wrong line.
Most of these are tobacco.
The first like 10 are.
Okay.
We're starting to get the renewals in. Might be
Any
some
issues with
installers.
anybody not renewing or on time or anything like that?
We'll find out. They still have a little under 2 weeks, 2 weeks to get the applications in. Shane has been good at sending reminder emails and letters to those that we're still missing.
Oops.
ZBA.
I know, I was just looking for individual solutions. I just see two, sorry, I'm like, Curtis?
Oh, yeah,
Looks like there's two of the same,
There's two different installers.
but we don't have to put their name on.
I've been up in the air about that.
It should be on
Probably
there.
should, yeah.
Be.
I
Yep.
can change it after you guys sign.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would just put their name, next to it. I saw the different names, but it just,
Next to Curtis.
yeah,
Electric
like,
Service.
yeah, and then put the name of the installer.
When we do that upgrade to the permitting, that's one of the, there'll be
It
a
will do
spot
that,
to
okay.
show the installer name, because it's
Okay.
important to.
You'll remember that to do
Yeah,
that.
because when they show, when they give us like records from other towns' permits, it's almost always just the company name.
Oh,
And then
that's odd.
sometimes it's.
Yeah.
What's that?
I did that.
Number in the upper left-hand corner.
No, it's different, sorry,
different.
162, 164.
And I think same thing for Gustafson, yeah. Did I miss one?
Gotta keep an eye on her. Really
I'll just blame it on the concussion. Head injury, head injury.
Everything, perfect. Gotta take the positive, right?
Yeah, it'll be nice to click a button.
Yes, that is the goal.
Oh, we actually have a bodywork establishment? Nice,
We are working on getting those that
nice.
that actually like also
Also-
advertise reflexology and Reiki, and we need to get them permitted as well. So-
Perfect.
That one actually just informed us of another one in the same building today.
Well, that's what's gonna happen, is now it's gonna spread, cause they're like, well, if I paid, then someone else is gonna have to pay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what happens.
It's tough because a lot of the massage therapists, they also offer reflexology, so that triggers.
Right.
regulation.
All right, are we good?
Yes.
All right. All right. So before I adjourn, I just wanted to say to the board and to the residents of the town to make sure that you're having a happy and healthy holiday season.
Thank you, you too.
You as well.
So I will entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Health meeting at 6:41 PM.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, I make the motion as stated.
Dina Costa, member, I second it.
Any discussion?
No.
Nope, with that being called for the vote.
Dave Escobar, Vice Chair, yes.
Dina Costa, member, yes.
Carrie Singer, Chair, yes, meeting adjourned.